Today in the workshop, I'm going to show you how to fit a Crank Brothers Highline dropper seat post. So the Highline has got a hydraulic cartridge inside and it's cable actuated, so it's one of the more simple dropper seat posts to fit. I've actually already got one on my bike, but I'm going to remove that for the sake of this video to show you how to fit a new one. So the Highline has got a hydraulic cartridge inside and it's cable actuated, so it's one of the more simple dropper seat posts to fit. It's all internally routed, so that cable goes down the seat tube, but the same sort of method applies for any internally routed dropper seat post. Okay, so there's the post with the cable attached. That does unscrew off. For the sake of fitting, we'll have to do that. And then you've got your lever and your bits and bobs. So instructions, a bit of paste or some grease for the seat post, and your outer gear cable that's going to go through the frame. So the first thing to do is to work out where you're going to put your remote lever. The great thing about these Crank Brothers posts is the same lever will go top or bottom, right or left. So there's top right, or top left. Bottom left, I'm actually going to stick it underneath the bar on the left hand side. My bike is a 1x11 system, so I don't have a front shifter. I do have this twin lock remote lever for my suspension, but this will fit just in there. For me, that's where I find it the easiest to use and I'll use it the most. So now to thread that cable internally. This can be quite straightforward, or it can be a bit frustrating depending on your frame, but bear with it. Once it's done, it'll be really neat. This Scott Genius is actually quite easy. The cable will go down the seat tube, up this down tube and pop out of this really neat place at the front of the bike. Now, if you're replacing this seat post with an old seat post, then I would try and keep whatever you've got in there already and use that to pull through the new gear cable. If you've got nothing in there, it's probably the hardest way of doing it, but I've got a couple of tricks to try and help you out. So, a couple of tricks for fitting internal cables. One is stolen from GCN. I've not tried this one, but apparently you can use a piece of thread and push it as far down into the bike as possible and use a hoover to suck that out and then attach the gear cable and pull it through. However, my preferred method is using this ingenious tool bought from a DIY store or any sort of workshop place. And it's a magnetic pickup tool. It's flexible. It's got an LED in the bottom of there and also this grabber. But to be honest, the magnetic end does the trick. So I'll thread a gear cable down into there, put it down, pick it up with that and pull it out. Dead easy. It's a brilliant tool. So I'm threading an inner gear cable into the frame and I'm going to try and pick it up the seat tube. So now I've got an inner gear cable all the way through the bike. I'm going to use that. I'm going to thread the brand new outer gear cable over that and help it pull it through the bike. So I've pulled the outer cable through the frame and now it's time to go up to the handlebar end and sort out the cable length. So you've got a choice of two cable ends, a plastic and a metal one to put on the outer gear cable, and the metal one goes up at the remote lever. So I'll slide that on now and I'm going to route that to the lever and then just pull the cable through the frame until I get that desired amount of slack up at the bars. So you want it to be fairly neat, so not too much, but you need just enough to be able to turn the bars, and that looks about right to me. So with that cable length sorted up at the bars, just double check that it's still butted up into that remote lever, and now you want to mark this cable at the level it comes out of the seat tube. So you could use a pencil. I'm actually just going to use a little bit of electrical tape, so just at that level, put it around there, and that's gonna, well, you're gonna use that mark to cut the gear cable in a second. So now I'm just gonna pop that cable out of the remote lever and I'm actually gonna pull this cable through the bike a little bit. Be careful, you don't want to pull it so that the top end of this by the bars disappears into the frame. I'm pulling it a little bit, and from that mark I've just made, I need to measure down 165 millimeters and then cut that cable, and that's according to the Crank Brothers instructions. So that means that once you attach this to your seat post and push your seat post down into the frame, that means you've got that desired amount of spare at the front that you've already measured. So now pop your plastic cable end on and it's almost time to start threading that gear cable into that. So now we're almost ready to fit the post. Go up to your shiny new post and just unscrew this thing at the bottom and pop off the mechanism and the gear cable. It's quite a tight fit, nice seal in there. Put your seat post down for a second, and without dropping that collar, now start threading your inner gear cable through the bike. So that's all threaded through and it's ready for the post to go on. One top tip here is don't drop that metal collar down inside that seat tube. What have you done now?
Drop the collar. I can see it. Currently fishing for it. There it is.
Else you're gonna have to go fishing for it and get it back up. So keep hold of that. And now I'm going to put the post and attach it to this mechanism. One thing you will see is there's a little indent in that mechanism there. That matches up to the plunger here. So I just slide that in, push that into the bottom of the post, and then tighten that collar back up. So now to start fitting the post actually into the frame, I've got a carbon fibre frame, so make sure you've got some fibre grip in there. I've still got some in there from the last seat post. So I'm gonna start sliding that down in. As I'm doing that, up at the front of the bike, I'm pulling the gear cable through so that I'm not gonna get it bunched up or kinked at the bottom of my bike. Let's try and set that seat post about the right height and tighten it up to a maximum of 7 Newton meters. Actually, my frame says 4 Newton meters, so if you don't have a torque wrench, that's not very tight at all. And that'll do for now anyway. And I'm gonna go up to the bars and actually start threading this cable through my remote lever. So with the cable pulled through tight, make sure that lever is in the fully closed position, and then just use your 2mm Allen key to clamp that gear cable into the remote lever, only to 1 Newton meter this, so it's not very much at all. And that's it. All you now need to do is cut this cable and put one of those cable ends on to make sure it's nice and tidy. Now it's time to fit your saddle. It's dead easy. These two 5mm bolts, this rear one actually pops out, and you've got this bottom sort of seat for your saddle. Make sure that front bit is pointing forward. Get on there and sort of thread your saddle on. So with your saddle fitted, just give it a go and hopefully it should work. What you might find is that the cable tension wasn't set absolutely perfectly first time, or the gear cable might stretch a little bit. So my tip is just to work it a few times, push on that lever. You can see now that has stretched it a little bit, so without pushing the lever, the post will go up and down. So now the tip is to just remove the post, and I'll show you a little thing to do. So I've undone the seat post so I can remove that, and I've removed the lever from the bar. You just take the bolt out and it just simply hinges off. I'm going to pull that back through and just unscrew this. Just be careful that collar doesn't drop down into your seat tube. So you see this little spinny actuation lever in the bottom of the post. What I'm going to do is take some long nose pliers and turn that round carefully towards that closed position. So with it all now working, I'm gonna pop my seat down and just jump on the bike, and I'm just gonna play around with some little adjustments on this spherical rotation thing here to make sure that lever's in that perfect position. You can do some fine tuning of that cable tension using that barrel adjuster. So you've got your brand new dropper seat post fitted. It's almost time to go for a ride, but before you do that, if you haven't done already, click on this here GMBN logo to subscribe to the channel. And a couple of videos you might want to check out is how to ride with a dropper seat post, so click up there for that one, and click just down there for how to set up your cockpit controls. Give us a thumbs up if you like this video.